The rain had been falling since dawn, washing the city streets in a cold gray shimmer, but nothing felt colder than the moment Ethan Clark lifted the dinner plate and saw the empty space where a tip should have been. A billionaire had just walked out of the restaurant without leaving even a single cent. At first, Ethan thought he had misread the situation, but the truth hit him like a punch to the chest. In a world where people spent thousands on a watch, a man with more wealth than entire towns had walked away without sparing a dollar for a struggling waiter. His throat tightened, frustration boiling behind his ribs, until his eyes caught the folded note tucked carefully under the plate. His fingers trembled. His breath stalled. And in that split second, his world shifted in a way he could never have expected. If you believe kindness still exists in this world, if you believe in second chances and quiet miracles, please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your engagement helps us continue sharing stories that touch hearts. Ethan Clark had never planned on becoming a waiter. Once, he had dreamed of being an engineer, building things that lasted. But life didn't always give people the luxury of dreams. After his wife, Emily, passed away in a sudden accident 2 years earlier, everything collapsed around him. The grief was unbearable, but the pressure of single fatherhood was heavier. His son, Lucas, only 7, depended on him for everything, and Ethan had no family left to help. The bills kept piling up: rent, school fees, medical checkups, and the constant battle to keep food on the table. So Ethan picked up double shifts at a downtown restaurant, wearing a smile every day. Even though most days he felt like he was drowning, the restaurant wasn't glamorous. Its walls were decorated with faded photographs of old jazz musicians, and the lights flickered sometimes when it rained. But people loved its warmth: tourists, office workers, families, everyone except the one person Ethan never expected to meet, Victor Hale, a notoriously private billionaire known for owning tech companies and luxury real estate around the world. The staff whispered about him like he was a myth, a man whose presence made the restaurant fall silent. And tonight, Victor had chosen Ethan's section. When Victor walked in, tall, sharply dressed, with a face carved by years of stern success, every waiter stiffened. But Ethan approached him with the same kindness he gave everyone. He served him carefully, offered recommendations, made sure the food arrived hot and perfectly presented. The billionaire ate quietly, barely speaking, barely acknowledging anything around him. When he finally stood to leave, he simply nodded once, slipped on his coat, and walked out the door. The other waiters watched from the counter, whispering about how much he might leave as a tip. But when Ethan lifted the plate and saw the empty space beneath it, disappointment burned in his chest. Not because he felt entitled, Ethan never expected generosity, but because he desperately needed every dollar to get through the week. His son's school trip payment was due the very next morning, and he had been short by exactly $34. But then he noticed the note. It wasn't fancy stationery. Just a small white paper, folded twice, soft at the edges like someone had held it for too long before placing it down. Ethan swallowed hard, wondering what a billionaire would write to a waiter he barely spoke to. Maybe it was a complaint. Maybe he had done something wrong. Maybe the man had been offended. When he opened the note, his breath shuddered out of him. "I saw how tired your eyes are. I saw how gently you spoke to every customer. And I saw the photo in your wallet when it fell, your son. I was a waiter once, long before I had anything. I didn't tip today because the tip wouldn't be enough. Go to the address written below tomorrow at 10 a.m. VH." Below the message was an address written in quick, bold strokes. Ethan stood frozen, unable to process the wave of confusion, fear, and hope rising inside him. He reread the note, wondering if it was some kind of strange joke. The idea of a billionaire once being a waiter seemed impossible. The idea of showing up at some unknown address felt reckless. But the way the message was written, earnest, simple, sincere, made something old and forgotten flicker inside him, hope. That night, Ethan barely slept. He tucked Lucas into bed, kissed his forehead, and sat at the kitchen table staring at the note. Bills surrounded him like reminders of failure, and yet he kept touching the address gently, as if it might disappear if he blinked too long. What if it was nothing? What if it was everything? The next morning, after dropping Lucas off at school, Ethan took a bus across town. The address led to a tall glass building with rotating doors and a marble lobby, the kind of place rich people would never imagine someone like him standing in, tired clothes, worn shoes, fingers still smelling faintly of dish soap. He felt small walking through those doors, but the memory of Victor's eyes kept him steadied. A receptionist greeted him, asked his name, checked a list, and asked him to wait. Minutes stretched slowly until an elevator dinged and Victor Hale himself stepped out, looking far different than the cold businessman from the restaurant. His face seemed softer, almost humanized. Victor led him into an office overlooking the city, a breathtaking view that made Ethan pause. And there, in plain words, Victor told him something that felt unreal. He wanted to help him. He said he remembered the pain of struggling, the nights he couldn't afford rent, the times he felt invisible. He said he saw in Ethan the same exhaustion he once carried. And then Victor said he had a job for him, not as a waiter, but as an assistant technician in one of his companies, with training included, full benefits, stable pay, and opportunities to grow. Ethan's heart throbbed painfully in his chest. He hadn't felt this mixture of shock and relief in years. Victor explained that he didn't leave money on the table because money, in that moment, wasn't enough to change a life. But a chance, a real chance, could. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan flourished. He absorbed training like a sponge, worked harder than anyone, and soon became one of the most reliable technicians on the floor. His co-workers admired his dedication, and his supervisors praised his growth. Lucas noticed it too. His dad smiled more now. They ate better meals. Their apartment felt warmer, brighter. Lucas would proudly tell his teachers that his father worked in a big company now. Ethan kept the note pinned inside his drawer, a reminder of the moment his life changed. He didn't see Victor often, but every time he passed him in the hallway, the billionaire would nod with a quiet pride, like he was watching someone climb out of darkness into the light. But the turning point came months later, when Ethan received an envelope on his desk, a promotion letter increasing his salary, granting him better hours, and giving him the first real stability since his wife passed. He sat there in silence, tears sliding down his face without warning. All he had wanted was to provide for his son. All he ever wished for was a second chance. And somehow, kindness, unexpected, silent, powerful, had found him in the moment he needed it most. If this story touches your heart or reminds you that kindness can still change lives, please like this video, share it, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep creating stories that inspire and uplift. Please take a moment and comment below. Tell us what part of the story moved you the most. And in the end, Ethan walked into Lucas's room one night, watching his son sleep peacefully, a small smile on his lips. For the first time in years, Ethan felt like the future wasn't something to fear. It was something to walk toward. Something bright. Something possible. And he knew, deep in his soul, that he would spend the rest of his life paying forward the kindness that saved him.